Hello everybody, welcome to my channel. So today we're going to be doing LeetCode question number 1528, which is shuffle string. So I'm going to read the prompt and then we'll get into the code and an explanation on what the code is doing. So let's get started. So it says given a string s and an integer array indices of the same length, the string s will be shuffled such that the character at the ith position moves to indice I in the shuffled string, and then we want to return the shuffled string. So let's break it down here. So in our example one, we have code late, and we're going to make it shuffle it down. It's going to become LeetCode. So for our input, we're giving code late, and for our indices list, we're given 456702113, which is this. And then our output needs to become LeetCode, which is right here. And the explanation as it shows, code leet becomes LeetCode after shuffling. So basically what it's showing is if it goes down more, we have some more examples. So say we have ABC, the indices is 0, 1, 2. There's going to be no shuffling because, well, after shuffling, each character will remain in its same position, right? It's not going to move. And you can see there's some other examples here where it shows shuffling and so on. All right. So let's get started on how we're going to solve this. So the first thing we're going to need to do is we're going to need to have a result list. So because we're going to want to basically get the length of our string. So result is going to equal a list that is going to be the length of our string, right? We want to first make sure that because we're going to have to shuffle. So I'm actually going to name this shuffle. All right. And we're going to multiply this by the length of s. So I'm going to show you what that gives us. So if we print this shuffle, it's going to give us this, which is the same length, as our string. So shuffle is going to give us just this nice, pretty list that is the same length as s. All right. So now I'm going to put just s up here so you know. So we're going to do s is going to equal code elite, right? Awesome. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to be using a Python function called enumerate. And if you haven't heard of enumerate before, it is an awesome function. You could look it up after this video, but I can explain it a little bit on what it does. So it gives you basically the index and the character in your list. So let me show you how it works. So if we have 4 index, because we're going to want to iterate over our indices list, I'm going to go character, if I can spell right, and enumerate. And I'm going to do that for our indices. All right. Here we go. And I'm going to show you, print out again, what enumerate does. It is awesome. All right. Run this code. So it basically gives us back, kind of self-explanatory, but the index and the character. So off to the side here, I'm going to kind of start building out so you can kind of see what the logic is doing here as we continue to go on. So we have our s, which equals code elite. Then we have our, I'm going to do our indices. Let me actually take this down. We have our indices. Delete this really quick. We have our indices, which is going to equal 4, 5, 6, 7, 0, 2, 1, 3. And then when we basically do enumerate, it gives us, so I'm going to say, so enumerate, it gives us the index and our character. So 0, right? 4, because I'm going to do index equals, so in the list, right, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So these are our index and these are our characters, right? So, and if we go so on and so on, it'll basically go 1, 5, 2, 6, 3, 7, 4, 0, and it's going to do the index and the character right there. Okay, so I just kind of want to show you what that basically does, and it's helpful in solving this. So the next thing we're going to want to do is we're going to want to take shuffle character. I'll have to just, and we're going to equal that to our string index. And I'm just going to bring this back so we can see string index. All right. All right, so let's see what this is doing, right? So I'm going to break this down. So we have our string, we have our indices, and then we have our index. I'm just going to do IDX, make it a little less. All right, cool. Let's come back a little bit. All right, so if we look at what shuffle is doing here, so we have our shuffle list, and that's going to be, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, because that is the length of our string, right? Because we did that here. We wanted that list to be the length of our string, and that's how we created that. Okay, so basically, shuffle, right? When we do shuffle characters, let's do it through the first iteration. Shuffle character. This is going to equal, you guessed it right, this is going to equal 4, right? Because this is the character, right? 4, that's the first iteration, right? And then so let's see what the string index would be. So our string index, string IDX, is going to equal, you guessed it right, 0, right? So I'm just going to comment this right here, right? So what's happening here is if we look at our example, we have at 4 in our shuffle, which is 4, and then our index at our string, which is 0. So our shuffle character at 4 is going to equal a string index at 0, right? So that one does that. And then if we go on, 5 is going to do that. And then it's going to be 1. And then what's at 1? Well, it's O. So at 4, it's C. And then at 5, it's O. And then so on and so on until it goes all the way back. And then we get LeetCode, from code delete to LeetCode. So that's kind of how the logic works there. And then we're going to want to, at the end of this, we're going to have to do one last thing. We're going to have to join, right? Because we have to return it as a string. So not as just a list, right? Because that's what it's basically doing. So we're going to basically go ahead and do this. Oops, we're going to return. Oops. Return. Then we're going to do, oops, return dot join, and we're going to do shuffle. is back. All right, run this code. All right, so it passes. Let me go ahead and submit and see what it does. Great, 56 milliseconds faster. All right, so I hope this was helpful. I hope that it showed what enumerate does and how the shuffling takes place. So I really appreciate you guys watching and look out for the next video. Thanks so much.